So, you guys have heard the case of Margaret Nduta. Yeah. But I've also put out an episode on the case of yet another Kenyan woman called Pesh Lema, who also got arrested for drug trafficking and served 10 years imprisonment in Ghana in 2015. So her case predates that of Margaret Nduta. If you are not familiar with the case of Margaret Nduta, just check the playlist. I have a detailed episode on it, as well as subsequent other episodes expanding the updates further, and you'll be abreast of it. But just to summarize, she's currently on death row in Vietnam for drug trafficking, and she's a Kenyan by birth. Now, Pesh Lema is also a Kenyan, a woman for that matter. Margaret is also a woman. Pesh Lema is a woman from Kenya also, and she was found guilty of drug trafficking in Ghana in West Africa in the year 2015 when she was flaunting as a socialite, and she served almost 10 years in prison in Ghana and has recently been released over a year ago. She has granted an interview to a YouTube channel, and there are similarities between her case and that of Margaret Nduta's case. Why am I doing this video? After I did my research on Margaret Nduta, and then I did my research on Pesh Lema, I realized that their cases have very similar circumstances, although there are differences. But there are also some key similarities that I think I need to highlight, because it's looking like there could be something that is showing clues of other things that we might not have taken our minds to. And I'm going to outline all of them here. The first is that both these women are of Kenyan origin. I don't think that is a strong point, because, hey, there are two women of Kenyan origin who have been arrested and found guilty of drug trafficking. But just as they've done that, we could have several other nationals from other countries of different genders or similar genders in multiple numbers who may be guilty of the same crimes and may be serving sentences in various forms in different countries. So I think that is a non-starter. Let's put that there. But just so it builds the point, note it down. The second is that all these women, or the two women, Margaret Nduta and Pesh Lema, they are really pretty ladies, and they were embarking on a trip. They were embarking on a trip, and both of them met a man. It's the same thing that Margaret Nduta said. According to her, she was given a suitcase by a man to deliver on his behalf to another woman when she gets to her destination, and that she didn't see anything in the suitcase that suggested that there was drugs in it. That's what Margaret Nduta is saying. So it then leads to the possible conclusion that it's likely she was used as a victim and she didn't really know what it was. She was used as a drug mule without her consent and without even her knowing. But guess what? Pesh Lema is also saying a similar thing, and it's not like the case or the two cases are happening at the same time. Pesh Lema's case happened in 2015. That's about 10 years before that of Margaret Nduta. So I don't think that they are peddling the same lie per se, although I will expand it further on that, because Pesh Lema is also saying that she met a man, and the man told her that her briefcase was small. Her suitcase, was small. The suitcase with which she was traveling with was small, and it didn't look okay. So he had this big suitcase, so he's giving it to her as a gift. She should just use it. And you begin to see how similar it is. Both of them are referencing suitcases being given by a man. Although in the case of Margaret Nduta, she's alleging the man said that she should deliver the suitcase on his behalf to another woman when she gets to her destination. but then she got arrested and it's found out that the suitcase has drugs. And in the case of Pesh Lema, this man offered a suitcase because he wants her to have a better suitcase. But the common denominators here are there's a man and there's the offering of a suitcase. Now, here are my questions. Is it possible that there's a syndicate out there taking advantage of naive women who have an aura and an appearance about them which they believe wouldn't make them susceptible to suspicion, such that they approach these women with this suitcase offer? Is it possible there's something like that? I would say possibly, but not wholly, because there has been several stories since I came of age. I'm aware of at least 2 decades of stories where people are traveling, especially from Africa, and somebody, sometimes even a relative, would give them a package to deliver to someone else when they get to their destination, only for it to be found out at the airport that this package contains illicit drugs. This has been a story, or this has been a fact that has been happening across the decades. So I'm sure by now people should be learning, especially when you are in a position to travel outside the country. You don't take anything from anybody, even those you trust. You don't, because you may trust them, but they could be compromised by someone they also trust without they even knowing. You know, the risk can be passed on through the people you trust. So when you're about to travel, you don't even trust the people you trust, just so you play safe, because they may not really be intending to harm you or compromise you with drugs, but they themselves could have ended up trusting the wrong person who would then get to you through them. This is a lesson that seems to have been instilled for decades. So I'm surprised people still fall for this, but hey, that is just an analysis. I'm not trying to blame them or anything. So the question again is there a possibility that there's a syndicate out there taking advantage of women in this way? Or it's rather that the syndicate is out there still, but it's not really about women. It's about anybody who is actually greedy or just trusting or overly trusting. Because like I said, if you are traveling and these offers are made, you shouldn't take it. In the case of Margaret Nduta, why would she have thought, or did she pause and ask herself, why would somebody be giving me $1,300 just to deliver a suitcase? What's the cost of using DHL? Someone might say, yeah, I have the benefit of hindsight to ask those questions. It's true, but then even in real time, all that glitters is not good. And sometimes when things seem too good to be true, most often it's not true and it's not real. $1,300 to deliver a suitcase, I think, is too excessive, and it should have raised the red flag. In any case, even if it was $100, you still shouldn't take it, because you are not equipped enough to search the bag to the extent that the airport authorities will search it, to be sure of yourself that somebody doesn't have drugs in there and you are going to be the mule. So the best thing to do is don't take it. But then unfortunately, Margaret Nduta has found herself in this. I'm not saying that she should have known that there was, but I'm just saying this is a lesson people should learn. Just don't take it. Don't take the suitcase no matter the story. Let them use the existing courier services. That is why those services exist. Let them pay that money for the service to deliver to them. Now, in the case of Pesh Lema, it's the same thing. A man and a suitcase again. And I'm asking myself, did she know the man? She didn't really talk so much about that. Because if you don't know the man, why do you take a suitcase from him? And even in the case of Margaret Nduta, $1,300, I think there was a bit of greed in there. I could be wrong, but it's a question worth asking. Was she influenced by the money, or it was just the goodness of her heart? Somebody was talking about, oh, she needed the money. Yeah, we all need money, but that is not an excuse to get yourself in illegitimate things. Because at the end of the day, where Margaret Nduta stands now, it looks like that 1,300 might have been in exchange for her life, literally, because she's now on death row. Her life is literally hanging in the balance of facing lethal injection just because of that suitcase that she took. What is the value of that $1,300 now? It's worthless compared to the value of her life. That is the reality people should face right from the onset when things are being offered. Your life is priceless, and no amount of money being offered for you to risk your life can be worth more than your life. In the case of Pesh Lema, she was fortunate. She was sentenced to 10 years in Ghana. If it was Vietnam, she would have probably been buried by now. She was in Ghana, so she was fortunate. She spent about almost 8 years of that 10-year sentence and has since been released. But in the case of Margaret Nduta, she is not that fortunate. But then again, back to the analysis. The minister, one of the government officials in Kenya trying to intercede on behalf of Margaret Nduta with the Vietnamese government, came out to talk about the fact that there are over 1,000 Kenyans in prisons across the world, and most of them are in prison for drug trafficking. And this then ties to the first point I made in my analysis. Although he didn't say whether majority are women, but it's beginning to look like if Kenyans are not careful, there could be a perception being formed about them that they are now being associated with drug trafficking. I don't know the comparative ratio with nationals of other countries, but I think it's something that the country should pay attention to. What is being told to these Kenyans for them to peddle these drugs? Is it a high rate of poverty in the country? If there's a high rate of poverty in the country, it still does not make an excuse for them to do this. Or is it that there's a strong presence of the syndicate in that country and they are influencing the people? If that's the case, the security agency should root them out. Because at this point, if they become notorious and gain that notoriety for being responsible for such things, it becomes very difficult for any government, or their government for that matter, to negotiate clemency for any citizen of theirs caught in that, because then it becomes to look like, oh, we know you guys, you are known for this, we won't listen to anything. And I don't think it should be allowed to get there. Personally, I think that in recent times, there have been several other cases, some on my channel. You see women, very beautiful women for that matter, who have suddenly come out flaunting wealth without explanation, wealth you can't trace to any legitimate source, wealth you can't trace to any business, any investment, wealth that is overwhelming, and they sit and quote motivation messages, attribute the success to God, and just like that, they end up always being found doing illicit business. We had one in Ghana not long ago, and she was all over, even speaking down to women who are trying to work hard legitimately, speaking down to women who depend on their spouses, and trying to make it seem like if you are a woman and you don't have what she has, or even if you are a person and you don't have what she has, then you are less of a person, only to be arrested for fraud on an international level. Look, guys, I keep saying this and I will keep on saying it. Respect your hustle. Be proud of yourself. Once you put in the work legitimately and you earned something for that, once you are earning from your sweat, keep your head up high and be proud. I tell you, peace of mind is priceless. And most people don't know how valuable their freedom is until they've lost it. I can tell you for a fact, if Margaret Nduta had $100 million and she was asked to swap it for her freedom now, she would give it gladly. In the interview of Pesh Lema, she made a statement that when she came out of prison, she had to seek counseling and psychological help because the mere fact that she was in a room where somebody locks and keeps the keys alone was haunting enough. And imagine you being there for so many decades Or imagine even the point where your life is to be taken away from you. There is no shame in hard work. There is pride in hard work. There is pride in putting in the hustle. And I tell you, if you are consistent, it will build. Don't be swayed by social media. What you see is largely not real. Even if there's a bit of reality in there, it's mostly always embellished. Do the work, learn from the right people, stay genuine, value yourself, respect everybody, build the right connections, and you will definitely make it. Of course, subscribe to the channel as well. Share these videos with people. I'm telling you, maybe if Margaret Nduta had known some of these things, assuming she is actually innocent, if she had known some of these things, she may not have gotten into what she's gotten into. Who is going to be the next Margaret Nduta? These cases we bring you are not just to tell you what has happened, but it's also to present to you things we can all learn from. And I implore you to just share the videos, subscribe, let's have a conversation. Do you see the similarities between Pesh Lema's case and that of Margaret Nduta? And if yes, what do you take from it? What advice do you have for the young people coming, especially the females who seem mostly to be swayed by wealth and the flaunting of wealth and sensuality? I'll catch you on the next one. Keep your head up, keep your head on a swivel, and stay safe out there.